If your nights are restless, maybe it's not your body, maybe it's what your soul hasn't released. Have you ever believed that sleeping well is just about turning off the lights and closing your eyes? Maybe you thought that a cup of herbal tea or brushing your teeth was enough. Many people do. But here's something few understand. After 65, what you do in the final hour before bed can quietly shape your physical health, your emotional balance, and even your longevity. In today's episode, we explore 5 sacred rituals practiced not by influencers, but by those we often overlook. The wise, grounded, content elders who radiate a peaceful kind of strength. These aren't trendy hacks. They're based on science, tradition, and the elderly wisdom that only time can offer. You're about to discover evening habits rooted in deep elderly reflection, gentle but powerful actions that hundreds of seniors in Europe and America have practiced for decades. As you listen, don't just think this is interesting. Ask yourself, could this one small change help me sleep better tonight and live better tomorrow? And if this content resonates, take a moment to like, subscribe, and let me know where you're watching from today. I'd love to hear from you. Let's begin with the first ritual. It's something surprisingly simple and yet almost spiritual in its effect. Barefoot walking indoors. That's right, it might sound too simple to matter, but for many wise elders, walking barefoot on natural surfaces before sleep is a sacred act. It's called grounding, or earthing in scientific literature. And it refers to the practice of allowing your skin to connect with surfaces like wood, tile, or woven mats. Anything that doesn't block your energy. Scientific studies, including a 2012 publication in the Journal of Environmental and Public Health, found that grounding significantly reduces nighttime inflammation, balances cortisol, and improves sleep patterns in adults over 60. And beyond the science, many cultures have quietly passed down this practice for generations. In Okinawa, some of the longest living people on Earth make it a ritual to walk barefoot for a few minutes inside the home before bed, not to get steps in, but to calm the nervous system. Mr. Harold, a 77-year-old retired postal worker from Oregon, swears by it. Every evening around 9 p.m., he turns off the lights, steps onto the hardwood floor of his hallway barefoot, and walks gently for 10 minutes. He says, "It's like my whole body exhales. I can feel the day leave my skin." His doctor noticed something else. His nighttime blood pressure became more stable, and his sleep, once broken into fragments, became deep and continuous. Elderly wisdom like this teaches us that healing doesn't always need to come from outside. Sometimes it begins right under our feet. Now let's talk about the second ritual. One that doesn't involve any tools or teas, just your own breath. It's a breathing technique many elders refer to as wisdom breathing. It's not just slow breathing, it's intentional, purposeful, a way to tell the body you're safe. You can rest now. In medical terms, this is called coherent breathing, practiced at a slow rhythm of 5 to 6 breaths per minute. Researchers from Harvard Medical School and the HeartMath Institute have found that this breathing style activates the vagus nerve, reduces stress hormones, and moves the body into a parasympathetic state, ideal for falling asleep naturally. But here's where elderly reflections make this different. The breathing is combined with remembrance. As they breathe, wise elders reflect on just one lesson they've learned that day. It could be as small as, "I should drink more water," or as deep as, "I finally forgave someone I've resented for years." It's not about perfection, it's about processing. It's Eliza, 83, from a small village, sitting in her favorite chair, her hands resting on her lap, eyes closed. She inhales gently for 5 seconds, then exhales for another 5. She does this 10 times, and during those breaths she whispers to herself what she learned that day. She told me once, "Each breath is like a page I turn in my life story. I don't want to carry today's weight into tomorrow's sleep." That's the beauty of elderly wisdom, and in doing so, they sleep like children again, unburdened. And then we come to the third ritual. This one you can taste, but it's more than just flavor. It's the quiet, nourishing power of what I call the elder's infusion. Many seniors in Scandinavia, southern France, and longevity zones like Icaria have their own version of this. It's a herbal drink, but not the commercial kind filled with sugar or artificial lavender. This is a carefully prepared infusion of chamomile, lemon balm, turmeric, and a slice of fresh ginger. Boiled slowly, strained, and sipped with intention. What's magical about this blend is not just tradition, but science. Chamomile has been shown in studies like one from the University of Pennsylvania to reduce anxiety and improve sleep quality in older adults. Lemon balm supports the nervous system, while turmeric reduces low-grade inflammation that tends to spike during the night. Ginger helps digestion of its own volume. But even more than the ingredients, it's the way they drink it that matters. No TV, no scrolling, no conversation. Just them and the steam from the cup. Mr. Louis, 79, a retired teacher from southern France, brews his infusion every night at precisely 8:45 p.m. He dims the lights, pours it into a ceramic mug his late wife gave him, and sips quietly. Before his final sip, he speaks one phrase aloud. Last week he shared it with me. I release the day. I welcome rest. I've earned this sleep. That's senior motivation at its finest. Not about hustling, but about arriving, fully, into peace. That's what life lessons from the elderly teach us. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters, and doing it with grace. At night, we don't just rest our bodies, we return our soul to stillness. If you're still with me, perhaps you've already felt something shift. Maybe you've remembered a grandparent's voice, the sound of slippers on the floor, the way the kitchen smelled just before bed. That is the beauty of elderly reflections. They awaken something familiar in us, something we thought was lost. In this second part, we continue our journey through the wisdom of seniors, discovering the final 2 rituals that not only prepare the body for sleep, but also preserve the spirit. These aren't just habits. They're quiet ceremonies, drawn from life lessons of the elderly and grounded in both spiritual tradition and scientific validation. Let's begin. The 4th ritual is one I call the evening blessing. It might surprise you, but for many seniors who radiate peace, this isn't religious, it's deeply human. A blessing in its purest form is an act of letting go with gratitude. After the age of 70, many seniors begin to see their days not as routines, but as gifts. The way they end each day reflects this sacred perspective. So what does this ritual look like? It often starts with a single sentence spoken aloud. Some elders whisper it into the quiet, others write it down in a bedside journal. It could be as simple as, "Thank you for this day, I did my best," or "May tomorrow bring peace to what today could not." What matters is the intention. According to a 2020 study from the University of California, seniors who engaged in daily evening gratitude or prayer-based reflection had lower nighttime cortisol levels, stronger immune response, and improved emotional resilience. That's not just spirituality, that's senior health, proven and measurable. But this ritual is more than data. It's identity, it's closure. Shared her version with me. Every night after brushing her teeth and placing her reading glasses down, she sits on the edge of her bed. Her hands rest on her lap. She closes her eyes and says softly, "I release what I couldn't fix. I keep what made me smile." Then she breathes. That's it, and yet she says it's what saved her after losing her husband. "It was how I stayed myself," she told me, even when grief tried to take that away. Elderly wisdom reminds us that not all healing is loud. Some of it happens in silence, in one honest sentence before sleep. Now we come to the 5th and final ritual, and I want you to listen carefully, because this may be the most quietly powerful one of all. It is the ritual of intentional stillness, sometimes referred to as pre-sleep posture. This isn't yoga, it's not stretching, it's simply the act of sitting still, upright, grounded for 5 full minutes, doing absolutely nothing. No thinking, no praying, no media, just being. In Buddhist monasteries and old monastic Christian traditions, this was called the watch. Elders believed that the final moments before sleep were sacred and should not be rushed. In modern sleep research, there is support for this. Dr. Matthew Walker, a leading neuroscientist and author of Why We Sleep, emphasizes that stimulation, even positive in the 30 minutes before sleep, were sacred and increases nighttime waking. But when seniors sit in quiet stillness, eyes open or closed, body relaxed, they allow their brain to naturally shift into theta waves, a signal that the body is ready for sleep. I met Mr. Walter, a 76-year-old former truck driver in Alberta, Canada, who discovered this after years of restless nights. He now sets a timer for 5 minutes. He turns off every light except a soft amber lamp, sits in his worn leather chair and does nothing. Not meditation, not reflection, just stillness. He said, "I used to need pills. Now, I just need peace." And there it is, the wisdom of stillness, the understanding that before we surrender to the night, we must first come home to ourselves. This, more than any supplement or routine, is what gives the elderly their quiet strength. So now you've heard all 5 rituals, but this isn't about copying what they do. It's about learning why they do it and making space in your own evening for rituals that feel personal, sacred, and slow. Rituals that align with the truth so many elders have already discovered, that good sleep is not just about rest, it is about release. Before we end, I want to leave you with one small question. Which of these 5 rituals feels like it could become your own? And even more important, which one will you try tonight? Leave a comment, tell me what touched you most. Share this with someone you love, someone who could use a little more quiet and comfort in their evenings. And if you believe in senior health, longevity, and drawing inspiration from elderly wisdom around the world, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and join this growing circle of thoughtful, reflective living. And please, tell me, where are you watching from? I read every message. Whether you're in Ohio, Lisbon, or a village in Northern Ireland, your voice matters. Let's bring the forgotten rituals back to life, one quiet evening at a time. For the evening blessing, letting go with gratitude. As the day winds down, many elders engage in a simple yet profound practice, expressing gratitude for the day's experiences. This ritual isn't necessarily religious, it's a personal moment of reflection and appreciation. By acknowledging the day's events, both the joys and the scientific studies support this practice. Research indicates that gratitude can improve sleep quality by promoting positive pre-sleep thoughts and reducing anxiety. One study found that individuals who kept a gratitude journal slept longer and reported better sleep quality compared to those who didn't. Consider incorporating this ritual into your evening routine. Before bed, take a few minutes to reflect on the day. You might write down 3 things you're grateful for, or simply think about them. This practice can shift your focus from daily stressors to positive experiences, fostering a sense of contentment and peace. 5. Intentional stillness. Embracing quiet moments in our fast-paced world, taking time for intentional stillness can be incredibly grounding. Many elders find solace in sitting quietly for a few minutes before bed, allowing themselves to process the day's events and transition into a restful state. This practice isn't about meditation or structured relaxation techniques. It's about embracing a moment of calm and presence. Research supports the benefits of such practices. Engaging in mindfulness or quiet reflection before sleep can reduce stress and improve sleep quality. A study published in the journal Sleep found that healthy sleep positively impacts feelings of gratitude and overall well-being. To incorporate this ritual, find a comfortable spot in your home where you can sit quietly without distractions. Focus on your breath, observe your thoughts without judgment, and allow yourself to simply be. Even a few minutes of intentional stillness can help ease the transition from the busyness of the day to the tranquility of sleep. Sleep is not escape, it is return. A return to the quiet we forget in the noise of the day. You've now heard about 5 powerful evening rituals. And maybe, just maybe, you've begun to understand why elders in Europe and North America who live well into their 80s and 90s with clarity and grace do not end their days by accident. They close them with awareness, with care. That is the difference between aging and growing old with wisdom. But here's a truth I didn't expect when I first began speaking with seniors around the world. What they do before bed says more about who they are than almost anything else. And it's never random. Their routines are quiet declarations of peace, of unfinished conversations, of bodies that ache, but spirits that have learned to rest. Let me tell you one last story. One that ties all 5 rituals into a single night that changed a man's life. His name is Arthur, 82 years old, living alone in the Midwest. His wife passed 6 winters ago. At first, he lost all rhythm, slept in his chair, woke with his television. But one night he realized, if I don't protect my evenings, I might lose myself entirely. So he started small. First, the barefoot walking from his porch door to his bedroom, slow, steady. Then he began the breathing, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. Just like he had been taught in the army decades ago. It calmed him. He followed it with the infusion, a recipe passed down from his Hungarian grandmother. Then the blessing, a phrase he spoke, always the same. Today was enough. I am enough. Finally, 5 minutes of silence, nothing more. The first week he slept better. The second week he began dreaming again. And by the end of the month he told me something I will never forget. For the first time in years, I don't feel old when I wake up. I feel like someone who's lived. You see, the wisdom of elders isn't just in what they've survived. It's in how they choose to end each day with dignity. That's what these rituals are. They're not routines, they're reminders. Reminders that your body is worth caring for, that your spirit deserves quiet, that rest is not earned by exhaustion, it's invited by peace. So tonight I ask you, not as a creator, but as a man who's listened to hundreds of elders share their hearts. Which ritual will you begin? Not all 5, just one. One moment of stillness, one breath of intention, one sip of something healing. That's how change begins. That's how peace enters. Don't forget, if this touched you, please like the video, subscribe for more stories and rituals from the world of elderly wisdom, and comment below, where are you watching from? I want this space to be global, a gathering place for quiet strength,